Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm here with Ray from Reyn Speed Shop. Ray's been a good friend of mine. He got me into collecting these classic cars. So we're gonna kind of go through the shop today and show his favorite cars, my favorite cars, and walk you through each one of them. CSLs are cool because you can't really make a copy because the whole entire body is thinner metal. So you can buy an E9, you can put a CSL sticker on it, but it will actually never be a CSL, not because of the VIN, but because of the feel and the drive.
Exactly.
And I got to drive this car back to back with Paul Kane's car, which was a 3.8 liter, 3.9 liter, right?
3.8 liter.
Okay, restomod E9 with the nicest interior, like really one of the nicest restomod cars out there.
Right.
And this was night and day, lighter, night and day, more fun to drive than that. This is the first CSL. This is what everything's based on for BMW M. And
yeah, so these are quite a bit lighter than the stock E9s. And Paul's car is beautiful, a lot of power, but a very different drive than this. And yeah, I mean, I think you and I both agree on this car. It's the great thing about it is it's like original. Like it's got the patina. It hasn't been fully restored. It was repainted once, but that's about it. And it's just how it came from the factory. And it makes it a car that you can drive and enjoy and not have to worry about little things happening to it like you would a fully restored car. You know, so that's what I love about this.
Yeah, so this has aluminum hood, which is why it's hood pin. It has aluminum doors, right? The cars, or just
the cars have aluminum doors and thinner metal and aluminum trunk lid.
Aluminum trunk.
Right, and then no sound ending inside. This car it looks like it came with the radio, no AC, just kind of a stripped down E9.
Yeah, and this is the original interior, Dan. So it's worn. It's a 72, so 50-year-old car.
Yeah, this has not been
hasn't been restored.
No,
it's
it's
exactly
really
the way
cool.
it should
It's really
be.
cool the way it is. You know.
Yeah,
it's Survivor style.
It's perfect.
Right, and it runs great. So I picked this one up from a friend of mine. It was a little bit of a basket case when I got it, and we kind of just went through it and did our thing to it. It's a restomod. It's got a TII motor in it, and
which is a mechanical fuel-injected.
Mechanically fuel-injected BMW four-cylinder motor that came out of a later 73 2002 TII with the dogleg gearbox. But this is a full restomod, kind of the style of stuff we like to do. I know Sean likes to tinker his shop. They're always restomodding everything. Whatever they touch becomes more performance-oriented. Yeah, which is totally cool. It's what PSI does. You know, it's kind of the style we do. We like to make the cars a little better, we think, than they are stock.
Yeah, so this is a 2000, this is a Tilux originally, right?
Right.
So it's a Tilux. This is the luxury option car with the wood trim on the inside. This actually has Tisa wheels on it, which would be equivalent to the competition wheels on an E46. This has the, they're lighter, they're wider for the race cars.
Yeah, these are BMW race wheels from '65. That's what those are.
Yeah, so show the, make sure you show the wheel, Dan. It's got the deep dish. It's a Steely, but it's the Tisa Steely, which is super rare.
And it's got the sport interior.
Yeah, sport interior, which is the black and red color. That's the sport wheel, right? That's the 2000 TI wheel.
This is the Tilux sport steering wheel.
Tilux sport wheel.
Yep. Yeah.
So and this is Polaris, and Polaris is like the racing color for Germany. So this is the car. This is the color that the cars raced in period. In the 60s and 70s, this was the color. Cool thing about an NK is it's actually the four-door. If everyone notices, this is a four-door car. It's not a 2002. That's the main question I get every single time I drive my NK. Everyone says, that's an awesome 2002. And you know what? I give them thumbs up. I don't correct them. I just say, that's great. But some people notice that it's a four-door, and then I'll kind of get into the NK. But next to this is a 2002. And this is a pretty special one. 1600.
Yeah,
okay.
1600. So this is the first, like the first version of a 2002, but it's a 1600 because at first they started with the 1.6 liter motor, and the first version would be a 1600. And this is a US spec 1600, so it was imported back in the day. And this was an uphill racer in '69, and it was fully restored by another friend of ours, Coupe King. Eric and Peter did this one, and one of my favorite cars of all time. They restored it for me, and one side of me is thinking like, I love it that it's so nice. Another side, I'm thinking like, I kind of wish I didn't do it, you know,
because it was,
But I love to drive. These things are fun to drive, and again, it's the whole restomod concept, kind of like what we do in the shop.
Yeah, so it has the pig cheek flares, which are the original Alpina design flares, right? From Alpina when they raced the cars. And the 1600s they always did because 1600s have a lighter body. Than the 02. So they would always want these chassis to build as race cars. So this is all correct in that in that way.
With some widened steel wheels, Barani style wheels like what Alpina would put on the cars, and the early Recaro buckets and things like that. So this car's got a lot of Alpina historical parts on it that make it what it is, and it's just a fun, awesome car to drive.
And which motor is in this car?
It's got a 2.0 liter O2 motor, and yeah, we bumped it up to 2.0 liter. When I got it, it had a 1.6 liter, the original motor. There was a race motor in it, but we turned it into more of a street car because I'm more of a street car guy, resto-mod.
So this has dual Weber, side draft carbs.
Right, dual 40s and a hot cam and a stock 2 liter motor with the Alpina header and all that good stuff in there.
Yeah, so this is like a period correct, proper race car from late 60s, right? From 69?
Yeah, with all the Alpina stuff like the gauge cluster with the black center dials and things like that.
So back in the day, you used to be able to send your stock car to Alpina and they made all the pieces for it, or you could buy the pieces separate, right? Whatever you wanted to get.
If you shipped it to Alpina, they would do everything for you. It'd be really expensive, probably twice the price of the car. Or you could also buy parts from an Alpina dealer or directly from Alpina and put them on your car. And that's what this is, a privateer car.
And this has the original Alpina suspension, right? The inverted,
right.
This has the inverted dampers from Bilstein.
Exactly,
right?
full. This has a full Alpina suspension, sway bars, interior components, gauge cluster, a lot of similar parts that would have been on an Alpina as well, in addition to that. So.
Yeah,
dogleg gearbox, limited slip diff. I mean,
so this has a super rare transmission dogleg, which dogleg means that first is down close to you, goes to second, third, fourth. It's awesome. It has all the pieces that you need. Obviously, no sunroof car. So I guess we can move on into the other hot rod. Right, both these are resto-mod hot rods.
Right, resto-mod. Everything here is a resto-mod, pretty much.
Yeah. So this is 1800. This is also an NK, just like the silver car. But this is an 1800, right? Standard 1800, not a TI.
Right, this is a 68 1800, which that's why you see this part here is different. This whole firewall treatment here is different than the earlier car you saw earlier. This has a 2.2 liter motor in it. It's got an S14 crank from a 2.3 liter M3 motor, special pistons and rods from the M3, and increased compression with the bigger cam. This was one car we totally restored. What we did was electronically, we left all the analog lights and gauges and switches in the car, but we added a PDM, a power distribution module, to the harness to the chassis of the car. So whenever you flip a switch, it sends an analog signal to the digital computer that sends a signal to the component, like the turn signals to blink every 3 seconds. And
so it basically deletes all of the old technology electronics from the cars that tend to have issues and makes it more digital, so you can program the turn signal and program everything to do what it needs to be as OEM. But it also makes everything clean. Like, you don't see any wires here. You can see the PDM connectors, which are aerospace connectors there. And there's a PDM there, and then there's one in the trunk, right?
The PDM's under the seat, and there's one in the glove box for the motor. So the engine control, and there's a chassis control, and they all play together. But that's where the engine bay is so clean, without wiring and things like that you'd see in a normal vintage car. Just something that I wanted to do, and we did it, executed at that level.
Yeah, it's the way to do it right. I mean, it's
so like this is a 68 car, and we took a dash from a pre-68 car and put it in here because I like that flat dash better and things like that. That's the kind of stuff we do. And
then these are the wheels. These are the
Alpina race wheels from the 60s. Yeah.
So these are Alpina Steelies that are lightened with the holes. These are super sought after, super rare for the NK.
Yeah, these were made by Lemmer, and that's the real deal.
Yeah, and then this also has the sport interior, but there's something specific. This has the original TISA seats in it, which were restall buckets. Buckets, and they had a special bolster on the side which makes them the TISA seats. These are probably one of the most sought after parts for the NKs.
Very rare, super rare seats. Yeah, they only made 200 TISA cars, so I can't imagine there was more than 200 of those seats made. I don't know, maybe more.
No, but the traditional ones don't have the side bolstering. And that was something that BMW added because that's what they wanted for the car. They felt like that was needed. And the TISA is like, I don't know, it's like the GT4 version of the original TI. So there were these 1800s, and there was the TI, which is like the M5 equivalent to now.
That's exactly right. In modern terms, it's the M5, the first M5, really.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, like the best way to explain it is to talk about the modern relationship that everyone knows. Because not everyone knows the history of all the cars. But it makes the equivalent, and this is the heritage of this. This is the beginning of the 5 Series before there was a 5 Series. And then actually, where Dan's standing, but behind him is a first 5 Series, which is an E12, and this is actually a 75, right? 75?
It's a 75, so it's a pre-smog car, but it's the first series E12, which is a 5 Series BMW that replaced these old 4-door cars, the NKs.
This is another resto mod.
Exactly. This is another restomod that what we did on this was a 530i. And what we did was we had a M635 Series 1 car in the yard, which was like a 79, and it was really rusted out, and we determined that, you know, it was better just to move everything over to this car rather than rebuild that E24, because you could purchase an E24 like that in good condition.
Yeah, so E24 is a 6 Series.
6 Series,
and
right.
they share subframes. So you can drop a subframe out of an early
Right.
E24, and you can put it right in here, and it bolts right up mechanically.
Right.
There's some electrical stuff that you guys found out that was different, right, to make this work.
Right, exactly.
So what's the block? It's an M90?
So this block is a 3.5 liter M90 block. It's a big bore, shorter stroke, over square, a lot of torque as opposed to what it had in it, which was a 3.0. And this was built for a friend of mine. He wanted us to do this, so we did it for him. We did a full swap, full suspension swap, brake swap, so we've got vented brakes, everything's upgraded. You know, we make the car faster, we make it stop faster too. That's really important, right?
Yeah, it all goes together. And this is something that probably Heartgoat would have done in the day.
Right.
Where this was a motor made by BMW, a chassis
Right.
made by BMW, and they're putting it in a similar car to make it faster.
Right.
To make it more fun. You know, Gavin, who owns this car, he has the Shielmon seats, which are also period for this car, 75. You know, which is kind of a Recaro style, but this is the OG. They're still made, but they're hard to find. And he had the interior match. The back seat matches the same material,
right,
just to kind of carry it through.
And he's even got M5 E34 M5 wheels on it.
Yeah, he's got the turbo wheels.
It's like the ultimate restomod, E12, the most power. I mean, 75. They would never put 3.5s to 7.5. The motor didn't exist.
Yeah.
Not until like 1979 with the 635. So, yeah, it's just a really unique job on this as far as, you know, what you have and what kind of performance you get out of this vintage car with that kind of a motor.
Yeah, and he's got the wheels and the exhaust, and then it has a neat. Which wing is this? This
also has a dogleg gearbox in it too.
Oh, I didn't know.
From the 635.
Oh,
and a
awesome.
limited slip, diff, stock exhaust, and it's just the car's completely set up right. I mean, we did. You know, we go all the way when we do it. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Euro bumper,
Yeah.
E12. E12 is a
Right.
car a lot of people don't know exists. I have an E12 with Euro bumpers on it. It's just such a neat car, and they're actually really similar to E28s, but they drive completely different because the suspension setup is totally different from from an E28.
Right.
So
right. Interior's different. Albeit you could swap everything, but
you could swap the doors. The doors from an E28 swap right over.
But the way they look, interior is a little different.
Yeah, but the trim and everything.
And these have these grills on the side this way horizontally, whereas E28 have that vent.
Yeah, the vent, the shark vent.
Yeah, I think the trunk's a little different too on this.
Okay, so we talked about the E12 and we talked about the E24 drivetrain being in it. So we'll go from that into this E24. So what's so special about this one, Ray? What's up with the...
Okay, so this is a Series 2. So Series 2 is a little different than Series 1 that's correlated to the E12 because they have a lot of interchangeable parts. And still it's quite a bit still interchangeable, but this is a later series, Series 2 E24. It's actually an 86 B10 3.5 true Alpina car. They made, I believe, 46 of these. This is car number 14 or 36. I think it's car 36. Anyway,
it's one of the 46.
It's one of the 46. Yeah. So I can't remember. Not so many cars. But Alpina did the full treatment on this. So brakes, body pieces like the front spoiler and the rear spoiler and the striping, and then went through the entire motor. I believe they used like an M5 crank in there with special pistons that are Alpina pistons in the header, and just end to end. A really special car, super rare too. Not very many made.
So it's fully built. It's a fully built 3.5 M30 from them with everything: the wheels, the brakes upgraded, different. Does it have a dogleg transmission?
So this has a dogleg. It originally came with an auto, but it was swapped to a dogleg with the full limited slip diff. Just a complete Alpina setup on this.
So this is geared super high, right? We were talking about this is made for the Autobahn.
Yeah,
it's not made for SoCal. This is made for Germany.
Yeah. This car is a little more docile than the B7 Turbo I had, S Turbo, but at the same time, it's an Autobahn cruiser. You know, these are.
So when the original owner spec'd it, he got everything. He got the trim, the Alpina pinstriping. I mean, everything was optional for what you wanted, right?
Yeah. By this time, Alpina was a manufacturer. So if you bought Alpina, you got it with everything.
You got it with the car. They made 46.
I think there was some upgraded seats you could have ordered and some other options, but pretty much you got this. And this has later wheels on it that we put on there, and stock would have been 16-inch. These are 17s. We like it, and we're restomod guys.
Yeah, so I
have a hard time keeping anything stock.
So we'll talk about the restomod stuff. So restomod to Ray and to me mean the same thing, but also means a little bit different because we don't think anything's perfect from the factory. I didn't think the G80 was perfect. we clearly don't think an Alpina from Alpina is perfect, right?
Yeah,
I mean, even the CSL, everything's been modified, right? What's the thought process, right?
It's kind of the personalization of it, you know. You make it your car, and you don't feel like somebody can just roll up on you with exactly what you have. That's
yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the whole mentality behind it, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, and also the performance of it. I mean, I'm not saying that the 17-inch wheels perform better than the 16, but I just like the way it looks.
But you like the way it looks better,
and that's why you do it.
And it's like the lowering springs for the 2002s. I mean, 2002s are kind of really high stock.
Right.
And the funny thing is, you go to a meet and you see 30 2002s there, and I would bet not one of them is stock.
Right.
I mean, like to see a stock 2002. I mean, do you even have a stock 2002? I mean, completely stock.
Actually, I don't.
Yeah.
Not with every. I mean,
but it's hard to find one. It's hard to find someone actually driving a 2002 stock, completely stock, or really, I mean, we don't even see completely stock cars that come into the shop for service.
I think in the BMW world, restomod adds value if it's done the right way.
Sure.
I think it adds great value.
Yeah,
you know,
especially the classic
stuff. If it's done by people that know what they're doing. You can't improve the car. You know, and the great thing about BMW is they have many different models to choose from, right? So you take the brakes off a bigger car that may fit on a smaller car. Now you got better brakes, and it's all BMW style engineering. So that just adds value. So that's how we look at it. You know, if it's done tastefully and it's done the right way, then we think it's cool.
So part of resto modding is engine swapping. So we can talk about the white E28 that's here.
Yeah.
So who did the swap? What's this history behind this car?
So basically, I've had E28s on and off, and I'm like, okay, how am I going to really get the ultimate in my mind for power and everything for E28? And there's M5s out there which are fantastic. E28 M5s are great. People do 3.5s. People do S38s in them too that aren't M5s.
People do S54s.
S54s in them. Those are all great. But I wanted something more, and so on this car, and I like the M535 look. You know, which is a little different than the M5 look, right, with the big bumpers. What we did was we just took a 524 TD, which is already a diesel car, kind of a dog, but
that was the one you found from that lady, right? An all original.
It was kind of all original. I got it out of Canada, and the fart absorber interior, but but we swapped it all out. We took all the M535 stuff, like Euro stuff, and put it on the car, and just painted those parts to match the car. We didn't paint the car. Interior full anthracite M535i. M57 along with the auto trans, a 6-speed auto trans, sport transmission.
So I think we calculated it before. I think the car makes 380 horsepower and like 550 foot-pounds of torque.
Right. Yeah.
On the highway, every car loses.
Yeah, I mean, passing is not a problem.
Car probably weighs under 2,000 pounds, probably 1,950 pounds.
No, weighs like under 3,000.
Under 3,000. Okay,
right at 3,000,
right at
probably
3,000,
something like that. I think when we weighed it.
But this is restomod to the max. So this is originally a diesel from the 80s, a 524 TD. Now it has the M57, which I believe is the E90 equivalent.
E90, that's correct. E90.
335D.
335D.
So 335D.
Right.
Motor and transmission.
Right.
So we can pop the hood and show it real quick.
Yeah, it doesn't have the engine cover on it, but
it's true restomod fashion. Super clean.
Looks like it belongs in there.
Yeah,
Upgraded the car, and again we upgraded the brakes it has a E34 M5 brakes all the way around and brake booster, so it stops fast too.
Yeah, and it has the OBD. Like the OBD plug is in there, so you can diagnose the car just like it was an E90.
Right.
It has the E90 ECU and everything in it, so it's a proper restomod. I mean, it has to be worked on. I mean, this is a new motor.
Yeah, we're going through it. We put another motor in it, but it's just fantastic. The ultimate restomod thing, like you have a dream, you want to do a thing, and you do it, and then you kind of go through the whole thing to make it your car. And that's,
yeah, but the auto makes it. We were talking about this. Like, this is not a car that it needs a manual.
Right,
Because we would normally put a manual, and every car would be manual swap. This is not. The 6-speed and the torque converter and everything, it makes the car.
Exactly. It makes it very comfortable to drive and easy to modulate.
It pulls, and this is a car that we had on the Kustenfahrt last year.
Right.
Which is a coastal drive that we do with the classic BMWs, and this was on it, and this basically smoked every car that was on it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's awesome.
So much power.
Yeah. Next to this, an Italian 320 IS.
Italian 320 IS, yeah.
Which is really cool because it has an S14 in it, but it's a special S14. Yeah, because back then they couldn't have a motor, or they got taxed on the motors.
Yeah, there was a big, I think a big importation tax on if you brought a car into the country, into Italy, with more than 2 liters. But to get around that, they just built these special cars. We call them Italian M3s, but they basically have an M3 motor, S14 motor. It's 2.0 liters. So I think they changed the rods and the crank, albeit the body's very different than a stock.
Yeah, so they made it fit the market. I mean, Italy is a sports car market. Right. They wanted to bring this car. They wanted to bring the M3s. So they had a regular 3 Series, as M-Tech 2, right? MTech 2 body kit.
Right.
And it has what looks like an S14, but it's not. It has the wing, and it also has the interior, which is similar to this one. MTech interior, cloth again. And this is Diamond Swartz. Is that
Diamond
the color?
Swartz?
Yeah. And this was originally a Canadian car.
Right.
Yeah, so this is, what do we say? MTech, it has all the MTech stuff on it. It has the 2-liter S14. We can show you that.
Yeah.
Super rare car. But then there's this, so this is an E30. So this is technically the 2nd generation 3 Series. And then to the left of it is...
Yeah, we want to do an engine bay shot real quick.
Yeah, we can show the engine in this.
Yeah, just so you can see it's got the stock E30 body with the MTech on it, and then the S14 motor.
Yeah, kind of snuck in. Yeah, but it is cool. It is like a BMW restomod.
Right.
I mean, it's like regular E30 bodies never had that motor, except for Italy, which is what makes that car cool. As I was saying, this is the 2nd generation 3 Series E30. So right next to it is E21, which is the 1st generation 3 Series, which was after the 2002s and the 1600s. And this is another restomod car, but this is a period correct aftermarket modification car.
Right, so this car's got OZ wheels on it. They're not Alpinas, but they're OZ wheels. This was a sport version from BMW. It was a 320 IS. What they did in LA was, back in the day, Century BMW, the dealer, they had a local company put together a turbo kit for this car that smogged. And they got an EO number for it, which is the emissions number that they can use to smog this car. And this car has the Century turbo in it, as they did it back in the day.
So this is an M10.
And it's got the correct smog sticker and everything on it. So it's an M10, 1.8 liter with a turbo from the dealer on it. And I think the intake says Century on it.
I think it makes like 8 pounds of boost, or 6 or 8 pounds.
Yeah, I think I'm doing 8. We're doing 8 right now. Not overkill, but it does add power to the car.
But it winds up, it's like at 5,000 RPM. I mean, this is a car I drove on the Kustenfahrt. So I drove it all the way from here, all the way up to Monterey. This is a fun car because you have to work hard to drive it fast. It's not a super fast car, but it's what we call slow fast. And it's turbo. So you have to wind up the M10 regardless if it's turbo or not. But to really have fun, you wind it to 5,000 and then the turbo hits. So it's a rewarding car to drive.
You get that extra boost of power.
Yeah, and it has Euro bumper. It's a Euro bumper car. It has the Recaros from the factory, which is what the sports car is. And it's Swartz. It's not metallic. It's a Swartz black car. It's just a neat car. And E21s are really neat because they have a really neat dash that's turned towards the driver, which is rare because the E30, I mean, it's not rare, but it's specific to E21s, which are now getting more love, which you've always liked.
I've always loved E21. If you think about restomods on this, this is basically, bigger wheels. It's got the Euro bumpers.
Lowering springs.
It's got the lowering springs on it. It's got a stock 320 IS front spoiler, but the rear valance on a US car is different than a Euro car, so we put this other valance on the back so it looks right. And then with the turbo kit, it was put in, and everything just makes it our own style of E21, Yeah,
but it's a sleeper. I mean, the car looks basically bone stock with wheels and a drop.
Exactly.
And then if you drive next to it and hear a turbo, you wonder what's in it.
Exactly.
Kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's a fun car.
Okay, so something we kind of saw earlier was a car which we're going to come back to, which there was glimpses of. It was a special E28, so we'll talk about that later in the video. But because we talked about the S14 and kind of the 3 Series, if we bounce over here, Ray has Generation 1, Generation 2, Generation 3 of the M3s. And so the first one, which is hidden over there, which is Lock Silver.
Black silver,
Black silver, black interior.
Right.
S14, how many miles does this E30 M3 have?
64,000.
64,000 miles.
Second owner. And yeah, I bought it from a guy that had it. He was all original when I got it. And he just pampered the car. And, I love to drive the car. They're fun to drive.
Yeah, so we used to drive that, and I used to drive my Lock Silver E28, which funny enough I bought from Ray. And those were like the twin cars. They had BBS wheels, like the same color car. I mean, E30 M3 is an awesome car, and when you know the history of that type of motor, how the M10 kind of became the S14, it's even more special.
Yeah, a lot of people say E30 M3s are not fast, but they don't have to be fast. They're just really cool, and they're fast. And they're fast when you get on them. I mean, top speed, that car will go 80 to 135 like that, no problem.
Yeah, and it's the slow fast thing. You got to work to get that going, which is what's...
You got to put your foot all the way in it all the time.
Yeah, which is what's fun about it. And then, I mean, the Gen 2 car, so this is a 97?
Yeah, torque monster.
Yeah, S52.
That's what I call it.
Yeah, S52, 97. How many miles are on this?
34,000.
34,000 miles.
Yep.
It's Cosmos Black, I think is the
Black.
color.
Yep, Cosmos Black.
Black with black, just super clean car.
But this car's, yeah, I call it the Torque Monster. I mean, this is all stock. I haven't done anything to that car, although I want to put some different wheels on it. I'm working on that, but
yeah, so that's a US spec 97, 3.2 liter S52. Everybody knows E36s. I have a couple of them.
Yeah.
They're great cars. They're just great to drive, super lightweight, and the value's been going, they kind of hit rock bottom and stayed there for a while. Now they're
getting more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the prices.
Now they're going back up.
Then my favorite M3, the one I bought from you.
Yeah, that was my old personal E46 M3. It was titanium silver with red. I actually did the full CSL interior, the front bumper. It has the OEM CSL diffuser. Still has the Eisenman exhaust. And then you did an Evolve tune, which we were just with the Evolve guys this week on the Drivers Project, and they're also better known for Venturi. They also do tuning, so it has an Evolve tune on the ECU. You did the CSL wheels, StopTech brakes, just a nice OEM. Still has
CSL trunk lid.
Yeah, CSL boot lid, OEM CSL boot lid.
And then the CSL intake.
Yep, intake. Yeah, the carbon one.
The carbon intake.
So it's basically an M3 CSL. And then and then the car that seems to be missing from here is the E92 M3.
Right.
Which we were just talking to E92 Drew about, finding him one, like a fire orange, maybe, or finding a GTS or something.
Yeah, Drew's the man on that.
Yeah, he's good at finding that stuff. But I mean, the purpose of the video and why I wanted, Ray's a good friend of mine, but we wanted to talk about like what makes a collection and what makes cars individual for people. And it's really the modding. I mean, really every car here has been modded the way that, every car I see Ray in it, it's like Ray's head driving around, like with wheels. So, every car has a story, and then we're going to walk back and show you one car that has a story that a lot of people know, which we'll kind of, we'll go over, and that's Rusty, which was originally Mike's car from Stanceworks.
Right.
And so how'd you get this car, Ray? Like,
Mike's a good friend of mine, and I remember when he was working on Rusty years ago before it burned down and all that, and then he was building up his Stanceworks audience and doing some cool stuff online, which he still does, obviously. He had this, and after he had completed it, I asked him, like, what are you gonna do with this? And he's like, I don't know, I've had it for a while, and I don't want to over commercialize it, and it'd be good to have someone, a collector, to have it, and he'd like me to have it, and I'm like, yeah, I'd love to have it. And so we kind of made a deal on the car, and he did really well on it, and I think I got a treasure out of it. It's a beautiful piece of art, automotive art, just a fantastic build, and I know he poured his heart and soul into it.
Yeah, and it was all built here in SoCal. Mike's out in Costa Mesa. I always try to see Mike too, and this meant a lot to him, and I know that he wanted the right person to have it.
Yeah.
Because it's also part of collecting cars. We're not going to just sell a car to anybody.
Exactly.
I'm sure a lot of people wanted to buy this car, and I'm sure he said no a lot of times, and then he said yes to you because he wanted you to have it. He knew you would take care of it, and it would be part of this collection.
Yeah, so I'm the caretaker of it right now. That's how I look at it, And we've taken care of it and make sure we start it up and run it and kind of keep it going.
Yeah, and it's a piece of artwork. Right? It's as much as it is a car, it's a piece of art for you, and you have art in your office, and that's part of you. And this
I love it. I think he did a great job. It was a great vision to put that together the way he did. There's nothing else like it, and it's a very unique car, and it's got a history and a personality of its own, right? It's a cool deal.
It's a hot rod, and it was built in SoCal, so that's where we are. So it's cool. Yeah. I guess the last car we can kind of go over is there's one hidden in the back over there. It has Jimi Hendrix painted on the side, and that was a car that we started at PSI for a customer. It's an S52 swap, 2002, which is kind of nuts.
Right.
In and of itself. It makes like 240 horsepower to the wheels, I think, in an 02 chassis. And we started it and it didn't get finished. Customer almost got it done, and he was kind of over the project. And I was like, you know what? This is a Ray thing. So I called him and I was like, hey man, I got this car. This is the situation. You got it, and you have your guys here. You finished it. Right. And now it has Jimi Hendrix on the side, right? So what's the story with that?
There's a local artist here, Lance Jost. He's always bugging me to do a Jimi Hendrix car, because he was the guy in '69. He painted the Electric Lady studio. He did the whole mural.
Which was Jimi Hendrix's personal
music studio in New York. He did that. That was his art.
And the guy's in his 80s.
Right, he's in his 80s, and he's just hounding me, to do he wants to do a 2002, and he's just, so I got that from Sean from PSI, and it's a great car, very well thought out build. Obviously it was kind of in pieces, right? Because
it wasn't done.
Your guy didn't have the money to finish it, so we took it over and we put it all back together. But in the meantime, I had Lance paint that, and he did a great job on it. It's a 3D piece of art, really.
It's crazy.
If you put 3D glasses on, it looks 3D in the sun and all that.
Yeah, it's a
neat deal, and
it's a cool thing.
Yeah, it was a cool thing to have, and and I like art. So, but the cars just all get out fast, you know.
Yeah, and it has houndstooth interior. I mean, it's a super hot rod, and it's all BMW. I mean, it's a cool thing. It's a BMW motor. It's a hot rod. It's a fun car, and
yeah, Dawson told me you kept up with an E39 M5 in it, so it must be fast.
Yeah. Yeah,
I've driven it. It is. I mean, I'm not going to go top 120 miles an hour.
No,
but it
has the torque monster motor. It's the same motor that's in the E36 over there.
Yeah, it's fast.
So it's super cool. Well, I mean, that's not every car here. I'm sure you guys can see there's other cars in here that are hidden and that he's doing. But Ray's kind of the only guy that does this type of stuff. He's been doing it many years. I mean, it's a love and a passion for everyone, but I mean, he keeps it alive. I mean, he's the NK, the father of the NK, as the group calls it, because you know, I have NKs and it's kind of the forgotten car of BMW, but I mean, he keeps it alive with all his parts. So that's it, guys. We're really happy to be here. Happy to share Ray with everyone, and
it's awesome.
Yeah.
PSI, awesome.
So super cool. So that's it. Thanks.